Hi, this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast, where CEOs, COOs, and business owners share strategies for success. This is 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best strategies are concise business advice. And question number 1, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert. We do have services like Done For You book publishing, Done For You course creation. What I'm really doing is bringing to the planet Credibility Nation. And that is an opportunity for us to live a life of credibility versus a life of dubiousness.
Great content that you have out there. So before we get to all of that though, question number 2, what's the best thing about being a business leader?
You know, the coolest thing about being a business leader is A, you get to serve your audience. So that audience that you are best serving, you get to do that. And B, you get to create the culture for your company that truly is the one that you would want to live in yourself.
So speaking of culture, maybe a little bit, question number 3, I hear from a lot of other business leaders that their people strategy in their business can be more complicated, more time consuming, if you will, than their actual business strategy. Your thoughts on that?
So I think those are people who have been born, they've been taught how to live in the industrial age, because the industrial age completely screwed up our ability to be good humans. And if you're a good human, you care about 2 things. So the definition of credibility has 10 components. Let me talk about 2 of them. One is the desire to serve others. And the second is the desire to be continually learning, to be continually coached. And if you're a business leader and you're hiring people who cannot coach you in terms of who you are and what you do and where you can learn, you're not hiring the right people. And so the business strategy is who's the clients, who's the customer base, and what do I need to solve? What is their customer point of pain? And then most importantly, I need to bring on people who also have that same customer point of pain, that same CPOP, who can actually help execute. You do that, you got the right people. So more importantly is who are you serving and making sure you narrow that down.
Very well said. I like that. You know,
Yes,
one of the
you.
things I often talk to people about is the difference between a transactional versus a transformational type business. But yeah, I really like the way you said that. All right, question number 4. What strategy would you like to share with other business leaders today?
So I've interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. And my first question is, what is your CPOP? What is your customer point of pain? And what happens when you sign up to be interviewed, I'll send you a 13-minute video ahead of time on how to prepare and what are the questions and what to think about. You can look at past interviews to see what people have done. And even after doing that, what I'll tell you is that 98% of those people I interviewed needed a little bit of coaching to come up with a very clear and concise CPOP, a very clear and concise customer point of pain. So you want a strategy to be successful, be able to articulate in what you do in less than 10 words. A CPOP is 1 to 10 words, 1 to 3 seconds. It is memorable because it's short. It's shareable because it's memorable. And it begs the question, tell me more. And so at one of my websites, or if you look at the book Credibility Nation, we have an online course and courses that talk about CPOP. We have a book that will talk about CPOP. You could go and watch, read a definition of what that is, mitchelllevy.com/CPOP. And at the end of the day, when somebody says, who are you, what do you do? If you can respond with, who is the customer base you serve and what is the primary pain point they have, you become memorable. And so what I would say is ask yourself, if you're a business owner, what's your CPOP? And then let's say you think you have it, go around to the people on your team. Ask them what they think their CPOP is. To be clear, unless those people working internally, you know, they have a different service level, right? But everyone should have a very similar focus on who they are and what they do. And that breeds good people strategy, that breeds good culture.
You know, one of the things that I often do with business owners and people that we work with, you know, we'll ask their employees what the mission statement is just to see, are they all on the same page? Do they really have the same vision or not? And a lot of times they don't. And so, you know, the CPOP is a great example of that. So some great advice.
Well, thank you. And I would just to add onto that, in general, you want to live life credibly. So if you know your CPOP and who you serve, what you can do is now you can actually be the authentic self, have the integrity to be able to talk to those people that are appropriate. The new definition of credibility is being known, being likable, and being trustworthy. And if you act within that definition, understanding who you serve and how, what will happen is you'll show up in the world in a much different way. You won't be asking questions, what's harder, business strategy or people strategy. It's serving your audience who will pay you money to solve their issues, and then finding the people who gravitate to your team because they relate to who you are and how you show up in the world.
I like that. I wish we had a lot more time, but for now, we're going to move on. Question number 5. What other successful business owners, CEOs like yourself, would you like to acknowledge here or you think would be good on a podcast?
You know, there's a number of people on a really broad scale. Mark Cuban's always been one of my biggest fans. No, I've had the biggest fan crush on. So Cuban, I just I've met him in 1996. We sat on a panel at Comdex together. And so I've watched his progression. It's just been beautiful. And he wasn't really a nice guy when I met him, but he's turned into a nicer guy now. I would say one of the co-authors, so there's a book, the book I just created, Credibility Nation. There's another book by a guy by the name of Lee Smith, Lee Smith wrote a book called Sales Cred, Turning the Sales Industry Upside Down. Lee Smith would be an amazing person for you to interview as well.
Those are great suggestions. I don't know that Mark Cuban would be available, but maybe, he will be, and we can see if he's available. And
well, we could do a double header. If Cuban's available, I want him too. So we'll do a double.
There you go. So, well, hey, just a 6 kind of final fun question. Tell me about your favorite past boss.
I think my favorite past boss was a guy that I worked with at Sun Microsystems. And when I first started my business, I put up the shingle, strategic consulting. So I went to Rick. He's since passed away. I went to Rick and I go, "Hey Rick, this is what I'm doing. Do you have anything for me?" And Rick knew who I was. And he says, "Mitchell." He ran a web deployment firm, so putting websites out for companies. He goes, "A lot of my customers are asking me for SEO." This is, by the way, 1997. A lot of my customers are asking me for SEO, and I don't want to put any of my team on it. Could you figure this out? I go, "No problem, Rick. Give me 2 weeks. I'm going to learn everything I can at SEO. I'll come back to you with a price." And so I did. 2 weeks later, I said, "Rick, I think you should charge 15,000. I'll charge you 10." He said, "Fine," and we sold 5 of them right away. And so having people, whether they're your actual clients who technically are your bosses, or whether they're a boss who just believes in who you are and what you can do, having people who see you and know you, and when you say, "I don't know anything, but I can figure it out," those are the people that really get me excited.
That's really cool.
Beautiful way for me to kick off the business. I didn't think SEO was the right answer, but if you give me 30 more seconds, what I'd say is, when at the time when you're doing SEO, you'd ask your client, "What's your 30-second pitch?" And all 5 clients gave me a 10-minute, 30-second pitch. And I said, "Oh, I might have some strategic consulting there." 2 of them became incremental clients.
I know you have a book that's just come out and other things, but tell people how they can find you or get a hold of you.
The best way at this stage is the book is called Credibility Nation, as is the membership community that I've created. So if you go to credibilitynation.com, you'll be able to find the book and be able to find the opportunity for both you and your employees to be part of a movement. And the question I'll just ask yourself is, do you want to live in the world where you can say, "I'm part of Credibility Nation"? Or do you want to live in a world where you say you're a Dubious Nation? I know where I want to go, and I'd like to see you join me in Credibility Nation.
Well, thank you for being on. It's been such a pleasure. And this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast. For more information and to follow us, you can follow us at LinkedIn, at Weaver Business Coaching, or on your favorite podcast platform. And we wish you the best success.
Thanks, Keith. Take care, everybody.